and welcome to Brewskis and Housekeys. My name is Nicole Kostelecki.
And I am Nick Papantanakis.
And we are here, as always, with Remax Alliance in Old Town Arvada.
Hanging out. Beautiful fall day.
It is. The leaves are looking good.
It's fantastic.
And the weather's nice. So, yeah.
Very, very happy.
How are you, Nick? What have you been up to?
I am swell. I'm enjoying the decision to do the somewhat sober October is what I'm going to call it.
Is it day depending?
It's day depending. It also depended on the fact that we got last minute tickets to Great American Beer Festival last weekend.
That is awesome.
So I couldn't very much do the whole sober October thing then. So it was.
How was it? Was it really busy? Was there a lot of people?
It was pretty insane.
I haven't gone in
Saturday,
a while. Okay.
And so it was the third day, second full day of it, and we were there right as they were opening the gates. We didn't even realize it, but we had to kind of queue up in line there, and they were letting people in little bursts, and then they sounded off some air horn, and they just kind of released the hounds, and we all just went sprinting off. It was pretty fun, but I mean, amazing. Thousands of people.
I haven't been in so long. Like, it's been maybe 5+ years.
Really?
Because it's so big.
Well, it's huge.
And I find that I like the more intimate beer festivals, but that one is, I mean, you have breweries from all over the world.
All over the world. And what's funny is we went with people, friends of my wife, who one of them had a plan. And it's nice to go with someone who has a plan because then you just kind of follow around like a lost puppy. And we're hitting methodically different places, but then we'd kind of taper off and do ones that we wanted to do too. But we probably, they give you just a little 1 ounce pour, and we probably went to 40 different booths. So 40 ounces of beer is really not that much.
I bet you had more than that.
40 ounces to freedom. See my Side Stories podcast that I'm going to do for. It was a lot of fun. It's a nice way to try. We got to try a bunch of stuff we had never had.
Yeah.
There was a non-alcoholic beer, the one we featured last week on the episode Athletic Brewing. They were there. They had a line, which I was impressed with because I didn't think at a brew festival that people would want to try the NA beers, but their beer's really good. So
it is. Did you have a favorite?
Gosh.
That's a hard question because.
It is a hard question because, one, I don't know if I would remember everything, and two, I had a lot of them, but we had one. I don't remember the brewery. But it was called Ecto Sour.
Okay,
so
sour.
If you are a kid that had the High C juice boxes from Ghostbusters that said Ecto Cooler, they had Slimer on the front of them. That's something I remember from my childhood, if that gives you any idea how old I am. But this was a green beer, and it was a sour, but it wasn't like sweet sour. It wasn't offensively, why am I drinking this sour? The balance to it was so good. I don't really know if there's any fruit flavor to it, but the fact that we saw somebody walking with it, we were like, we need to go get that green beer. So we found it, and it was pretty tasty. I wish I remember where it's from.
Well, we can look it up later.
We'll have to. So it was a good time. It was a very good time.
Was there a specific type of beer that was like featured? I know that's a weird question, but I know one time when I went, it seemed to be smoked beers was like a thing.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I don't know.
Sour beers?
I don't know that it was anything in particular.
Nothing like that?
No, a lot of places had their Marzen on, which is still, the Oktoberfest style, which we've talked about before, is my favorite. And a lot of places had that out along with some of their kind of flagship beers. So that was fun to be able to try a bunch of different ones of those. Given the time of year, I think that's probably happens every year there, but I haven't been in a while either, so I don't remember. There was a lot of really fun stuff. And there were cool other options. There's a place that just opened, which we may have to do some sort of feature of eventually in Denver called the Beer Spa. Have you seen this place?
I have heard of that.
Have you been?
Have I been? No.
Okay.
But you bathe in beer, don't you?
I mean, I don't know for sure. I know that they've got one of those self-pour walls, and I know that they've got like an actual spa.
Yes, and you just...
And so... They had a setup there. Is it
bathing in... It might not be bathing in beer. I might be sitting in the spa and drinking beer.
I think it's more likely that. But
that would be a waste of beer.
I do think that they had a really huge like kind of end cap booth setup, which was really cool and kind of talked all about them. Yep. So I think that would be an amazing place to go to. And that gave me the idea that there was something there that didn't actually offer beer, that was representing its business could be that a year from now we could see about
could be there.
Brewskis and House Keys booth at the Great American Beer Fest. I don't know.
And a live podcast.
And maybe live streaming for one evening.
Wow.
I think that could be a really, 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 really good time. So just put it out there. Put it out in the universe. If any of you, all of you listeners are listening and you want to write a petition, that'd be fine. That'd be okay, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Got that. And then, Halloween's coming up.
Halloween is coming up. We have an event in Old Town.
Yes. It's called Trick or Treat Street. It's really awesome. There's a bunch of people that bring, families and adults. Everyone comes to Old Town, and you go to each vendor or each storefront and us come to Remax Alliance and get some candy.
Yeah, it's fun to see how many of the businesses participate down here.
There's a lot.
Hundreds and hundreds of people that flood the streets.
Last year there was a lot.
It's insane, and it's really fun. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you were dressed up as the Cowardly Lion last year?
I was a lion.
You were?
Yeah.
You were.
Was the Ecto Sour by Switchgear Brewing Company?
Probably.
Switchgear Brewing Company is what Nico has found.
So we'll go with that.
Key Lime Kettle Sour.
There we go. It was so good.
Key Lime Kettle Sour, an ode to the Ghostbusters Ecto Cooler.
That's it.
It had to
Where are they from?
Switchgear. I'm writing that down.
What's WI is Wisconsin?
Yeah.
What a good segue.
Yes. So, well, real quick though.
Okay,
Trick or Treat Street is on October 28th.
Yes.
And it is down here in Old Town, Arvada. Starts at 5. So come on down, come see us, come into the office. We'll give you a beer, and we have non-alcoholic or alcoholic beers.
Yeah, we have it all right now. So, but it's fun if you have kiddos, if you're with your family, come on down. It's just, even if you don't have kids, it's fun to it's a spectacle. It's worth seeing. And actually what's funny is the restaurants don't get that busy until after things kind of end. So if you came down here and you saw thousands of people in the streets, you'd be like, wait a minute, I'm not going to be able to get into the restaurant
would be
open. You can walk right into Lady Nomada and there's no wait. We had that experience last year, actually.
I'll tell you what, the level of costume quality on these little kids, some parents are going...
Is it high quality?
It's nuts.
You'd think they work for Hollywood.
Yeah.
The level of craftsmanship is just out of this world.
I've even seen Nico in what I would consider out of this world Spider-Man costume down here for Trick or Treat Street.
Nico is legit
with
his costume.
If I may say, Nico's one that can fill out the Spider-Man costume. Not all of us can do that. So he looks like a superhero.
Actually, your frame is more like Spider-Man than mine.
That's true. Peter Parker's a little bit of a rail. That's true. Nico's more of a Thor shape, if you will. Use your imagination, viewers.
Kind of reminds me of like Home Improvement, like Wilson, how you can never see him. That's
Nico's
Nico.
just enough with his voice, occasionally a hand in the picture.
Maybe one day you will have the chance.
The pleasure. Yes, someday. He is camera ready at any time.
So, what are you drinking?
Well, okay, let's talk about this. Yeah. So we said, speaking of Wisconsin, we, in light of in essence of the Sober October, are rocking a non-alcoholic beer from a brewery called Untitled Art. And it is
really
out of
a cool...
Waunakee, Wisconsin. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Midwestern?
I don't... Person? Yeah, right. Waunakee is what I would say.
Okay.
I agree. But I could be wrong, so sorry if you're from Waunakee. Wisconsin.
But, a really tasty IPA, non-alcoholic IPA. I'm impressed with this. We were talking about how some non-alcoholic beers just don't have the right texture, don't have the right kind of makeup of the flavors that you want. Athletic does a really good job. I think this one...
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah,
I think it tastes pretty similar as far as having like the malty flavor and a little bit of the hoppy flavor, but you just don't taste alcohol.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, and Nico was actually mentioning earlier that some of them the mouthfeel isn't right. It almost feels more like soda or sparkling water. This, I don't think has that. I think this one has a little bit more the texture.
Yeah, I agree.
The other one we tried had bubbles like soda.
Yeah. Yeah, so not a bad thing.
I think this one's
Depends
good.
on what you're looking for, I guess. But Yeah, this is a tasty one. For those of you that are local to the Arvada, Denver metro area, Molly's Wine and Spirits on 44th and Sheridan has a huge selection of non-alcoholic goodies. So worth checking them out. That's where I found this guy today. Yeah. So
Molly's is good.
Yeah,
right by Lakeside.
Yep, that's right.
All right. So on today's episode, we are going to do Real Estate Mythbusters.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It's a good topic.
So let's go ahead and start. So our first myth is you must offer on a house immediately if you love the home.
So that's a tough one, right? Because given the way the market was for the last, we'll call it 24 months, people were programmed for that.
Yes, yeah.
Because of the competition, because of the way things were, that it was a hot market. It's tough to, it's gone in a weekend.
Go.
That you had to make a hasty decision. Well, we've mentioned more than once in this podcast that you do have to take your time with something that is a major decision. And unfortunately, through those 24 months or through that time, people couldn't. They couldn't.
Yeah.
And it just stinks. So I think it's great that folks can take their time, make an educated decision, maybe even revisit. Don't have to, see it once and I think I remember everything about that house. Let's just offer on it. They don't have to do that.
Yeah, anymore. You can set up a second showing.
It's really nice. So, and
go to an open house or whatever.
Yeah. And really whittle down your likes and dislikes. I think, on the flip side of that coin, it is also important to not expect that homes are going to sit and sit and sit and sit, because if it is a really nice home and you do love it, it's important to have your agent, and you've heard us say this before too, have your agent pick up the phone, talk to that other agent, and make sure you know the situation, because it could be in a multiple offer situation. So you just got to know, I guess. Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, same with on the flip side. The last thing you would want is to be ready to put an offer in on it, and then you find out it's under contract. So you just have to be aware and be in contact with your agent, have your agent be in contact with that agent. Make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Yep. It's a big part of the deal there. But that's our first myth out of the gate. Second one is be prepared to offer over asking price.
So this one, again, very different from the last 24 months. And even earlier in this year of 2022, where you were prepared to offer 10% over asking. But it's no longer the case. So the close to list price in September was below 100%, meaning that the average person or the average buyer offered less than asking price.
And got it.
And closed on it.
So that's a huge shift from the way it was prior.
Right.
And it used to be those conversations with a new buyer was, how high can you go?
Right. Yeah, it's not like that. Okay, well, it's more like, all right, well, what do you think the house is worth? What do you want to bid on it? That kind of conversations.
Kind of goes hand in hand with that first one we talked about, where you can kind of pace it a little better. You don't have to feel as manic about the price too.
Exactly. That mixed with the fact that people are lowering their list price and there's price drops. You see kind of all over. So
can be a little more methodical, and that makes a big impact for people that are truly looking to buy right now and know what they can afford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Myth number 3. You will know what you can afford after being pre-approved.
That's a tough one.
Yes.
Working with a really solid lender, we've told you that before, is really, really important. So please, please, please know that that's got to be part of your process. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of a myth. It's kind of true that, you obviously know a dollar amount that is comfortable for you based on the pre-approval letter that your lender will provide. That is based on your credit score, your income level, your debt to income ratio.
And the current interest rate.
So that's the variable.
Right.
And that's where it's important, because we've seen what's happened with interest rates over the last, 4
3
months.
months. Yeah.
And so it's really not rolling the dice, but it's volatile. It is something that you need to be cognizant of, that even though you may be pre-approved, say at $600,000 for a home, well, in the next 3 weeks, if we go out and shop for a home together and you find one that's $580 and you love it, well, you could look at the price breakdowns, but if the interest rates have gone up, maybe you can't afford that monthly payment anymore. And so that's where it's really, really important. And I would say on top of that, Making sure agents can be creative. The time of the seller being in the driver's seat 100% is done, I think, for now. And I think buyers can have a little bit more say. And so not to give too much away, but work with your agent, ask how we can be creative.
Get some seller concessions, see if you can buy down the rate, see if the rate or if the loan is assumable, which I think is brilliant. And
something that apparently, according to the seasoned folks in our office here that have seen a lot more markets than Nicole or I have combined, that used to be a very common thing. And now it's kind of making its way back around again. So it's a very good one too. All right. Next myth is you have to have 20% down to get a conventional loan.
So this is not true. So you only really need 3% down to be able to get a conventional loan. And then you can work with a lender, like we said, make sure that everything else of your finances lines up with that. There's also other loan options that can even make it so you don't have to put even the 3% down. So there's FHA, VA if you're a veteran, great option. And then there's also like first-time homebuyer programs.
Which we got a chance to sit with Michelle Beeson from Home Mortgage Alliance, and she kind of gave Nicole and I and a couple other agents just a really great breakdown of how those programs work, as well as the full FHA kind of breakdown. And so there's a lot of flexibility in there for if you want to be a homeowner. It's a real possibility. It's possible.
Yes,
absolutely.
It is. And especially right now. I mean, you don't have to put down those like the appraisal waivers. We're not doing that anymore. Not at all. So you don't have to worry about bringing $50,000 down. People are working with you, so it's great.
Yep, it's definitely a nice change to things. We've said in episodes past that it's not a shifting market; it has shifted, and so I
it's
think
very balanced right now.
That's part of what's shifted is that there's more options.
Yes, agreed. All right, and the last myth is anyone can sell a home right now. Anyone.
So this is a fun one because during the, as the pandemic kind of waged on through the end of 2020 and into all of 21, the increase in the number of FSBOs on the market for sale by owners was dramatic. People looked at what was going on around them. My neighbor just sold in 3 days. My other neighbor just sold in 24 hours with multiple offers. I can do this. And threw a for sale sign in the yard and went for it. And I have nothing against anybody who does do that because there are plenty of people that can manage their way through that. Right. Absolutely.
But I think they realized how overwhelming that was too.
It's more of a process than just a handshake and a pile of cash, and there's a lot more that goes into it. And so there's nuance to it that needs to be understood, whether it's by an agent or by at least doing some research. But the other side of that is now, fast forward to now, October of 2022, homes are not flying off the shelf like that anymore. That's not part of the market. And so, it's really important to know the touches that it takes to get your home completely ready to go on the market, because there is a lot of that competition out there on the sell side.
Right.
You got to stand out. And standing out doesn't just mean throwing a for sale by owner sign in the yard. It means
or a for sale sign even.
True.
By an agent.
True.
You have to do your due diligence and make sure that your house is marketed properly and make sure that buyers are coming to see it.
Marketed properly and marketed for the long haul.
Right.
I think that's another piece of it.
Smart.
Because they're not just on the market for a week or 2 weeks.
No, it's 26 days it was.
26 days was our average on the last episode. So, and some of them are sitting for a lot longer than that. So it's important to be able to understand what am I doing, or better yet, what is my agent doing for me to get this property in front of as many eyes as it can be.
Right.
So there's a lot of things that go into that, which is why it's nice to have an agent you can trust.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Just a few myths that we wanted to try and just bust for y'all, because the news says a lot, and I know we say a lot, but we want to make sure that folks know that there's real hope out there in this market. So busting those myths, that does it for us for this episode. Thanks to everybody for listening, as always. And thank you to Untitled Art, a delicious non-alcoholic beer for a term that I'm not allowed to use, I think, is October. We're gonna go. Sorry, you can edit that out.
Sober October.
Sober October, and
October totally different.
no, October.
October.
Socktober is different. That's true.
Rocktober?
Oh, I remember that.
Unfortunately, that's not happening.
That'll happen again in our lifetime,
I
maybe.
hope so.
Different topic, I suppose. But thank you, Tongue Title Art. A really, really good, juicy IPA, non-alcoholic beer. Check them out. We'll put their website info in the notes. And then, as always, if any of this good stuff has struck your brain or made you laugh or cry or giggle or anything at all and made you go, then please click the subscribe button. Like us on YouTube, and then also make sure you hit us up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We are present everywhere. Website is live as well. So that'll be left at the end of the episode notes. And
share the vid, tell your friends, tell your family.
Yep. That's exactly right. All those things.
Tell your kids.
Hide your kids, hide your wives. That's a different video.
That was my
But thank you for that. That was the best. And as always, team, cheers.
Cheers.